I don't normally enter rooms this way.
Welcome to the UFO discussion. I don't think this will come as a shock, but my favorite thing about UFO is the costumes. Not only how colorful they are, but just very streamlined, carefully thought out. Throughout my life, I've always struggled with what exactly is my personal style, and I think I've finally figured it out. It's Sylvia Anderson. Just anything she does. I've said it a few times in the reactions, but I just want to take all the clothing off the screen and just put it in my closet. She also makes the men just as stylish as the women, and that is huge. Some of these shows, the female characters look stunning, and they walk on screen and you're like, ooh. And then the other characters show up and they're like in these drab, generic outfits. Not on UFO. Foster struts in with his little purple jacket, you know the one I mean. Or Straker in his array of just incredibly elegant suits. Even Alec with those beautiful earth tones and browns that he likes to put on. You get an equal, when the guys walk in, and I really appreciate that. The stories are another highlight. Some of the sci-fi shows, they're very fun, but they don't make you think. You come away and you go, oh, that was really entertaining, and then you forget all about it. Some sci-fi shows are very serious, and they make sure that you have a message. But when you're watching them, it's like, I'm sorry, where are we? Having a show that manages to be incredibly captivating and fun and also terrifying, thought-provoking, and gritty. It is so difficult. UFO does it. In the same episode, I'll be like, this is so fun. And then, that was absolutely horrifying. I especially like some of the endings where they just cut you off at this incredibly dramatic wow moment. The square triangle, when the alien stumbles upon that attempted murder, and then the scene during the credits. Wow. That is good sci-fi. The third reason this is definitely going to stay in one of my favorite sci-fi shows is the model work. I'm not a huge fan of CGI. It always looks vaguely fake to me, like it's not real, and it brings me out of the world. Whereas a model, even if technically it looks slightly less realistic on screen, it feels real. I'm not sure how to describe this. If you're a fellow model person, you know what I mean when I say it feels real and CGI doesn't. And if it's not something you feel, I don't know how to describe it. It just warms my heart in a way that computer renderings don't. I don't know, maybe it's because a human being created it and painted it and just put some of, I don't want to say their soul into it. Maybe that's a little melodramatic, but you know what I mean? It's like it's a physical object that's being filmed. Right here, I want to give a special thank you to Anthony Craig, who does the most beautiful UFO-inspired model work I've ever seen. Please check out his website. I've put it in the show notes. You can easily spend an hour perusing these beautiful shots. It feels like you're visiting UFO moments and shadow bases and the aliens out and about with their nefarious plots. Thank you. And speaking of favorite science fiction shows, for me they fall into one of two general buckets. The group of, I absolutely adore this show, and the group of, I really like it. In the adore this camp, it means I literally think about it every day. At least once. I'm either thinking about a character, I annoyingly quote lines at people. Yes, it's happening already. I'm quoting UFO at perfect strangers. Or at the very least, I'll be waiting in line at the grocery store and I'll be hearing the music in the back of my mind. Da 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 da, da 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 da. Does this happen to you? It happens to me a lot. I put together this handy little chart for you as an insight into my, well, not brain exactly, my heart. In the adore it, think about it every day category, we have, obviously, UFO, Stargate. They're kind of like family to me at this point. I grew up watching it. I have like 3 cosplays in my closet. Star Trek, been a fan since I was a little kid. Star Wars, this tends to come and go. I have a really huge adore it, hate it relationship with Star Wars. But right now, Bad Batch, just, oh, I love it so much. Team Bad Batch. Eureka, has anyone else watched it? It's really obscure. It's my go-to comfort show. If I'm not feeling well, I put Eureka on. And then finally, the new reimagined Battlestar Galactica. Speaking of gritty sci-fi that makes you think, it is so good. I also have many cosplays in my closet from it. Feel free to post your lists in the comments of adore it and love it sci-fi. On to viewer preferences. I think one of the reasons Space 1999 was set entirely on the moon was because American viewers preferred all the moon-based stuff. So I made a little chart of my guess about what the Americans used to like. And as you can see, it's mostly purple for moonbase. And I assume they liked Skydiver, because how could you not like Skydiver? But then I made this other chart below it of my preferences. You can see the purple is very small. I do like moonbase, it's fun. Definitely not my favorite shadow base though. You all know what that one is, which is Skydiver. And then I added another category because I like tea in the Midlands. Although honestly, my ideal UFO season would be Skydiver, tea in the Midlands, just back and forth. And then they might talk about Moonbase, but we don't have to see it. I do really like Nina. She's my favorite character, so she needs to be transferred permanently to a Skydiver for this UFO Season 2 Alexa version. Captain Waterman and Nina, The Adventures of Skydiver, otherwise known as UFO Season 2. On to the viewing order. As always, Amazon's version is a bit... I don't know what they're doing. However, I liked it in this case because it made it look like Colonel Lake and Alec were both working for Shadow at the same time. Switching off episodes between the two of them, it was kind of like one of them would be away at a different base, or they might have been on leave, or they might have been off on Moonbase, who knows. But it kind of added to my headcanon that all the characters, regardless of the first section of characters versus the second section, worked together at Shadow at the same time. Whereas if I had seen the season as like Alec and then Lake, I would have been very confused. So I really like them kind of coming in and out. And I never know which episode it's going to be. So I'm like, ooh, who's it going to be this time? Another good example is what a lot of people pointed out in The Computer Affair. Originally, it was very early on, but because I saw it much later and I knew that Alec was potentially leaving, I was so freaked out when he resigned. I was like, this is it. He's leaving. No. So I completely fell for it. Whereas if it had been an early episode, I would have been like, yeah, whatever. Come on, Alec. I know you're still here. I was also way more invested in Mark and Gay because I had seen the two of them for quite a while, and I don't want to say I already shipped them, but the potential for shipping was there. And so when it happened, I was like, yes. Whereas if it had been an early episode, I would have just been, okay, all right, I'm happy for you. I don't know who you are. Like Space 1999, I put together a little episode order Excel sheet to show the different versions, along with my own synopsis of each episode. Let me read you some examples. They're definitely written for me, not general public. Time Lash, Lake's Purple Blouse. Conflict, Henderson versus Straker, Space Junk. The Sound of Silence, I simply wrote Sir Desmond. I'm going to go ahead and sort these by production order to start with. Have I mentioned I love Excel? Oh yeah, here it is. The computer affair was right early on. That would have been completely confusing, I think. I'm sorry. The Dalatech affair was also in the early set of episodes. That works, I think. You don't need that one later. The responsibility seat was also way earlier with the AWOL moon vehicle and not reporter trying to seduce Straker. I think that would have worked early. That's fine. Oh, here's a reverse one. The Cat with 10 Lives. I saw it fairly early on, and here it was much later. I believe this is the episode where I found out the aliens possess you in a way, and they can work through other creatures like the cat. I really liked having that knowledge early on. I know some people were like, no, you needed to have the reveal later. But it was kind of neat with all those future episodes to have that layer underneath it of like, oh, are the aliens controlling him? Is that a real dog or is the dog controlled by the aliens? And it adds a layer of creepiness that wouldn't have otherwise been there. So I really like The Cat with 10 Lives early on. This is the UK release order. Interesting. So The Cat with 10 Lives was early on here as well. Destruction, the one where they're dumping those canisters in the ocean, that one was also much earlier than I saw it. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would have put Destruction earlier. I like that order. Mindbender, the Western with the crystal, that one was also early on. I would say the order I saw it in so far is fairly similar to the initial release. There are a few exceptions. Confetti Check A-OK was number 22. That would have been really strange to have it just out of nowhere towards the end of the season. I still haven't decided if it's better to have Confetti Check A-OK and then A Question of Priorities, or if the way I saw it was better. I kind of like A Question of Priorities first so that you're so conflicted and don't quite know what's going on, and then you see Confetti Check and you go, oh, that makes so much sense. And then when you go back and rewatch UFO, you are coming in to Question of Priorities with that prior knowledge, and it becomes a different episode. And I think that transformation is really cool and shows the storytelling of this show. Finally, I'm going to cover my 4 favorite episodes. Number 1 is not shocking in any way. Subsmash. Not only is this based on Skydiver, but it has a really compelling storyline. It's terrifying. When Nina got trapped in that tube, for example, and then she's banging to be let out, and Straker's just like going nuts because he's like running out of oxygen, and everyone else has left the sub. They're trying to find them. Alec is like, where is Straker? And how are we going to get them out? And it's just absolute wonderful chaos. The acting in it is so good. So that's always going to be number 1 for me. Number 2, A Question of Priorities. Again, for the acting. The performances by the main cast here are outstanding. This episode, in my opinion, should have just won all the awards. Any award that was available that year should have been given to this episode. Brilliant and heart-wrenching. And this is where we really see Straker's leadership as well. His decision not to tell Alec what's really going on. The fact that he just had to basically condemn his own child to save the world. And then when that decision didn't even work, and he just had to hold on to that pain inside him, and he didn't want anyone else at Shadow to have to deal with that. See, just thinking about the episode is making me tear up, and that's because he had such a good performance. And that's why it's number 2 for me. All I did was think about the episode. How am I going to rewatch it? All right, on a much lighter note, number 3, Reflections in the Water. This one was just plain fun. Again, we have Skydiver. We have those adorable model moments with the little sleighs where they're through the water, the big domed city. All that running around in combat in that cool set underwater. Come on, this has got to be like the most fun episode. And then coming in at number 4 is Time Lash. Does this heavily have to do with the fact that Colonel Lake is wearing an amazing outfit and being the incredible queen that she is? Yes. I do love the concept of everything being frozen and having to go around and everyone's just... That's really cool. But honestly, this is about Colonel Lake. It wasn't just the outfit. She's just awesome. Thank you to everyone who came along and watched my reactions. I can't wait to just rewatch this series over and over to the point where I have it memorized and just start being incredibly annoying. I already have plans for cosplays. At the very least, I need to get my hands on some shadow patches to add to like half my wardrobe. But I really want to do that skydiver one. I have to finish my Mandalorian armor first. I'm not allowed to start a new cosplay before I finish my old one, but it's coming. I can't express to you how much I love UFO. So thank you to everyone who originally suggested it and watched all the videos. Since I can't think of a signature UFO sign-off of any kind, I'm going to switch universes, but I think you'll appreciate be seeing you.